Hey guys, Joe here, and welcome to this 5th delivery of the daily sketch series. For today's video, I actually spiced up things a bit and changed my the angle of the camera, because sometimes I felt like with the overshot I was actually getting my head in the way a little bit too often, or more than I would like to. So I tried to record from a different perspective. And yeah, in the beginning I actually didn't pay attention, and the colors are a little bit too blown out, and that's just because I was doing very faint lines with my pencil, and the paper is actually very white, the one that I use for sketching, and so it reflects a lot of light. And yeah, I go in later on and fix it. It's not not a lot of time passes before I fix it, so yeah, just bear with it for a little bit. I'm so sorry about it. But yeah, what I decided to do this time was to actually explain to you a little trick that I do for my portraits, and is to use female reference characters to draw males. And this works great because if you like to have pretty boys, most of the time those kinds of people, or men that are considered pretty boys, they usually have very feminine features with a touch of masculinity in their faces, of course. But yeah, a great way to achieve that is by actually drawing females and just changing a bit their facial features. One of the things that I usually change when I'm doing this trick is the eyebrows. I try to make them more prominent because females actually have the brow bone very flat, or yeah, they don't have a lot of change in plane there. But males have the brow bone a little bit more on the stick out side of things. So yeah, that's something that I pay attention to when I'm drawing a female that I want to turn into a male. And also the chin is very important that you get right, because females usually have a very pointy and thin chins. Of course there are exceptions to this rule, but that's just usually the case. So if you want to make them look a little bit more masculine, then just make sure that you widen the chin. Another thing is also the jawline. The jawline tends to be a little bit more sharp on the males, but again, females can have very sharp jawlines as well. So yeah, I'm just talking in the sense that those are the things that generally make a face look more masculine, but usually what does the trick is the eyebrows. And also if you draw them too thin, then they can look a little bit too feminine, so make sure you make them bolder than you would usually would, or than the reference photo, so that you can give that more masculine effect to the face, and so that it looks like an actual pretty boy as opposed to a female. Another thing that I like doing is experimenting with the hair. I usually just draw in very specific types of hairstyles, but with males I've been trying to actually expand my knowledge or my visual library, and so I usually try to experiment with different kinds of stuff. And yeah, that's what I do when I try to draw pretty boys, and it actually works wonders in my opinion. And also that takes off the pressure from you to inflict in some copyright issues, because you're changing the picture like by a lot, and so that no one can sue you for doing that. And yeah, unless, I mean, it's some sort of like very important photograph that it's under some heavy copywriting laws or stuff. But yeah, usually that's not the case, and you get away with just changing the gender. And yeah, it just makes for a more unique face, because you're not actually copying the face, you're just using it for reference. And yeah, now the other thing that I wanted to talk about in this video is that I actually tried out a different medium this time, and they are oil pastels. And I had a very tough time with them, because this was supposed to be a very quick sketch, mind you. I usually try to keep them for as short as 20 to 30 minutes max, and for this one it took me nearly an hour. But that's just because, I mean, I had to record double the time, because I stopped recording in the side plane kind of angle that I was doing in the beginning, because I felt like it would be better to show you an overview of the coloring process, because I feel that it's just more like maybe easier to watch perhaps, or you get a lot more information from an overview standpoint versus the side view, because on the side view everything looks very skewed, and I didn't want that for the whole video to look that way. But yeah, back to what I was talking about pastels. I initially thought it was going to be very easy to draw with them, because I've seen a lot of people on YouTube tell you to actually grab pastels with a cotton bud or some paper, and then smudge that pigment that you get from the pastel stick to the paper. And I was trying to do that in the beginning. I don't know if you will be able to tell, because it's actually like very sped up, but probably you will be able to tell that I was trying to do that technique, and it didn't work out at all, because I don't know if the cotton bud was too too small or too thin, or it was lacking like fluffiness or something, because I ran out of the cotton part very quickly and I was left with only the plastic part, which made everything a little bit harder to blend. And so then I went in with the oil pastel on top of the paper and I was actually trying to smudge it, but it didn't really work out the way that I was expecting it to. As a child, I remember I had this set with various art supplies, you know, the ones that they have for children, which have very low quality supplies, but there are a ton of them. Like you get this big suitcase with maybe some watercolors and colored pencils, crayons, pastels, and maybe markers. And that's one of the sets that I had, and I remember using the pastels ones, and because I thought they looked like chalk, and it was very much like using chalk. Like you would smudge them very easily, like it would touch the paper and you would get a lot of pigment, but the pigment wouldn't stay on one place, if you know what I mean. Like you would be able to actually move it around the page. But with oil pastels, it's actually not that simple. It's very much so like using crayons. The only difference is that they are a little bit more smudgeable than crayons, but honestly, I was really surprised as to how it worked, and that took me off guard. I wasn't expecting it to be that way. Like I was expecting them to have a very soft and smudgeable texture maybe, but yeah, they didn't, and so I was really stuck as to how to proceed, because I didn't like that. Ruined my whole plan. I was expecting it to be just very quick to lay down, kind of like using graphite and just smudging it with a napkin or a paper or something like I usually do, but it wasn't that way. I wasn't able to actually smudge it very nicely, and the markings that I had left in the beginning, they were still very visible even after smudging it for a while. And mind you, I didn't apply a lot of pressure. I just like applied regular pressure, and still I wasn't able to get rid of marks. And yeah, that was the first thing that happened that stopped me from completing this drawing like quicker. And after that, I just decided to try and darken everything. I usually like how it looks when you have very defined shadow outlines, and then you have, you know, like darker shadow outlines, and then the actual shadow is a little bit more faint. I don't know, there's a name for this effect, but I don't remember. Like it's a lighting situation, but I don't remember the name of it. But yeah, I was trying to mimic that, and so I decided in the end to just give a very rough sense of tone with the oil pastel, and then go back in with colored pencils and try to work everything out. Then I thought, like I was using just one color, which was pretty much like burnt sienna, but a little bit more on the red side of things. And luckily I had one Prismacolor that was exactly the same shade as that one, or very, very similar, so it was very easy to blend. And yeah, then I also added black pencil. I don't know if that was a smart idea or what, but I think it looks good in the end. I mean, maybe a little bit too cartoonish for my taste, but I mean, it looks better than if I had just left it be the same way. But yeah, that was all for this video. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something. And yeah, let me know in the comments if you ever experienced some issues with your actual supplies as well. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.